So sorry that last video was so short. I couldn't remember if I paused the video. So just in case I didn't want to start messing up like I did on that one video before. So I just ended it and we'll just do this one next. All right, I'm not going to do 64. When you are given x and you're asked to solve for y, you just substitute x in. All right, so for number 65, this is one that a lot of you guys had trouble with during the test. When we want to know how high the object is after 4 seconds, it tells us an object is launched in the air from the top of a building. The height after t seconds, so that means t represents our seconds, is given by the function h of t is equal to negative 8t squared plus 32t plus 40. Find the following. So when we're trying to solve for how high it is after 4 seconds, we are substituting 4 in for t. So it says h of t, so we're going to show that we're substituting in for it by substituting in here. Or let me write it in function form for you. So it's h of t is equal to negative 8t squared plus 32t plus 40. So when we're substituting 4 in for t, I'm going to substitute it in. And this lets me know that I'm substituting 4 for every single t. So it's equal to negative 8 times 4 squared plus 32 times 4 plus 40. So our h of 4 is then equal to 4 squared is 16. 16 times negative 8 will be negative 148. I'm sorry, 128. And then 32 times 4 is positive 128 plus 40. These two cancel each other out. So then our h of 4 is equal to 40 feet. So that means after 4 seconds, the object is 40 feet in the air. A lot of you guys on your tests try to then divide by 4. That is not true because this isn't h times 4. It is h of 4. So it's not being multiplied here, but it's telling us what we substituted in for our variable. All right, let's go on to the next one, part B. All right, then the next one says, how long will it take for the object to reach 64 feet in the air? This h of t represents our height after a given time. So that means we are going to substitute 64 in for the entire h of t. So 64 is equal to negative 8t squared plus 32t plus 40. Let me just write this a little bit neater. Right, then when we're solving a quadratic equation, which is raised to the second power, we need to set it equal to 0. So we're subtract over the 64. So then negative 8t squared plus 32t minus 24 is equal to 0. All of these are divisible by 8. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide everything by 8. And we want our t squared to be positive, so I'm going to divide it by negative 8. So this will then give me t squared minus 4t plus 3 is equal to 0. This will then factor into t minus 3 times t minus 1. And that means that it will be equal to 3 or 1 seconds. So after 3 seconds, we will be 64 feet in the air. And after 1 second, we will be 64 feet in the air. And then after 3 seconds, we'll be 64 feet in the air again because remember, a quadratic is a parabola, so we can have the same height occur more than once. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, so I will do both 66 and 67. For 66, the first thing you want to do is you want to create your table because we want to graph this. So we're going to do, this is telling me I'm moving left 3 and up 5. So that means my vertex is 3, 5. And then I will go ahead and pick 4 and 5 above it and 2 and 1 below it. I pick 2 points directly above and directly below. I will then substitute 4 in for x. So it is negative 1/2 times 4 minus 3 squared plus 5. Well, 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So it'll be negative 1/2 plus 5, which is then equal to 4.5. So I can write 4.5 here, and I know 2 is also 4.5 because they are our parabola is symmetrical, so we know it's going to be the same point. Right? Then I'm going to plug in 5. Negative 1/2 times 5 minus 3 squared plus 5. Well, this will then give me 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 1/2 is negative 2 plus 5, which is then equal to 3. So I know this is equal to 3, and so is this value at 1. Now I just need to go ahead and plot these points. It's going to be tough for me to plot these on here because it's a really small graph, but for you, it'll be easier on your piece of paper. So it'll be 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's going to be 2 and 4.5, so I'm just going to approximate it right in the middle. 4 and 4.5. And then here it'll be at 1 and 3. 5 and 3, like I said, it's going to be tougher for me than it is for you. But make sure that your graph is a U shape, that you have your arrows at the end, and make sure that you're plotting your points correctly. All right, so that will be solving for number 66. For number 67, it's not in vertex form for you, so if you want to, you can write it in vertex form, but based on the questions they're asking you to solve, A, B, and C, you have enough information to sketch from there. So to solve for our x-intercepts, we set y equal to 0. So then our x-intercepts, it'll be 0 is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 8. You factor and solve. X minus 4 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. So that means our x-intercepts is at 4 and negative 2. So for A, I want your answer written as ordered pairs. So it'll be 4, 0 and negative 2, 0. For B, it says the equation of the axis of symmetry. So the equation of the axis of symmetry, you will be given this formula, and it is equal to x is equal to negative b over 2a. Well, our a is equal to 1, and our b is equal to negative 2. So our axis of symmetry is negative of negative 2 over 2 times 1, which x is then equal to 2 over 2, or x is equal to 1. So for b, x is equal to 1. Finding the coordinates of the vertex, well, once we have our axis of symmetry, that is the x value of our vertex. So I know for C, it is already 1, whoops, let me just write this a little bit neater. 1, something. Well, if we know our x and we want our y, we just plug it in. So it'll be 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 8. So this is 1 minus 2 minus 8, which is negative 9. So that is our vertex. So now I can go ahead and graph this. So we'll be at 1, I believe that's negative 9 at the end. And then we have our x-intercepts at negative 2. And we have our y-intercept at negative 8. Now the only thing I ask is use your axis of symmetry rules that we know if this is 8 here one away, we also know we have a point there at 8. And that gives us enough information then to graph this. And there is our parabola. All right, let's move on to the next question. I'm not going to do 68 because I have faith that you guys can do this, but I will do 69 because it is a little bit more challenging. So we have our A, we have our B, and then our C is always our hypotenuse, so it doesn't matter which one you make A or B, but it will be our Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So then we can do x plus 2 squared plus x squared, that's our B, is equal to our C squared, 2x minus 2 squared. I'm going to go through this quickly. If you don't know how to do this, then please come and see me, but this is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4. This x squared is just going to be brought down, so it'll be plus x squared. And then this is going to give us, it's equal to 4x squared minus 8x plus 4. Right, then we will go ahead and solve for this by moving these all to one side of our equation. Since we have more 4x or x squareds here, we will subtract all of this and move it to the other side. So 4x squared minus 2x squared will give me 2x squared. Negative 8x minus 4x is minus 12x. And 4 minus 4 is equal to 0, so that means it cancels out. And now from here, it's easy for us to solve. So we can factor out the 2x. We're left with x minus 6 is equal to 0, so that means x is equal to 0 or x is equal to positive 6. However, if x is 0, can we have a distance of a side equal to 0? No. So that means it's actually an extraneous solution, so it's not a solution. You must cross it out. And x is only equal to 6 meters. Make sure you're putting your units. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and erase all this, so if you need to go over this again, just please pause the video or rewind it, or whatever you need to do. All right, so the next one here, this one's a little bit more challenging because in order for us to do this, we know that these are similar figures because they both are going to be right angles here because they're both perpendicular into the ground, and they share this angle. So through angle, I know that they are similar, so I can then create ratio. Well, if I want to solve for x, I need to know what this side is first. And if I have a triangle that's a right angle that is 1.9 and 2.8, I can solve for this missing side here. So it'll be 1.9 squared plus y squared is equal to 2.8 squared. Give me 1 second. All right, so 1.9 squared is equal to 3.61. 2.8 squared is equal to 7.84. We will subtract 3.61 from both sides. And that will give me y squared is then equal to 4.23. We then take the square root of it. So our y is equal to plus or minus 2.05. I'm going to say 67 because I know I'm going to use it again. So I'm just going to make my decimals a little bit longer, and it makes it a little bit more exact for me. I reject the negative. So that means the distance from here to here is equal to 2.0567. All right, now that I know that, I can go ahead and create my ratio to solve this. So I know that I want to solve for x, and x corresponds to that 2.0567. And then here I have the height 1.6, and 1.6 is part of the same triangle that has x, so that means that needs to go on top. And it corresponds with this 1.9 here. Right, then we will cross multiply. So then 1.9x is equal to 1.6 times 2.0567, which is going to give me 3.29072. I will then divide each side by 1.9. And x is equal to 1.73 meters. Right? And that will be your final answer. I'm not going to go through A or B in this case because I just solved one, how to solve your similar triangles here. So if you need any help, just rewatch any of the videos or see me for help for that. All right, I'm going to skip along to number 72. All right, so for this one, you're asked to find the distance from A to B. So if we draw this line right away, it does create two right triangles for us, but we don't know how we can break up 9. Is this 7? And this is 2? We don't know. There's not enough information. So what we have to do is we actually kind of have to mess around with this and move some of this around. So I'm going to take this segment and move it over to here. So there's that segment 2. It's on top of this segment 6. And I'm going to take this segment and I'm going to move it up to the top of this point. Let me just draw that a little bit more straight. So there's 9. I know that these are creating a right angle because they created a right angle there. So I just need to go ahead and after I rearrange it, it gives me a triangle with a side of 8, 9, and solving for my missing side. So it would be 8 squared plus 9 squared is equal to our hypotenuse squared. So 64 plus 81 is equal to our hypotenuse squared. 145 is equal to our hypotenuse squared. We take the square root of each side. So h is then equal to, it asks us to round, I believe, to the second decimal. Round to 2 decimal places. So h is then equal to plus or minus 12.04. And it is meters, so h is equal to plus or minus 12.04 meters. We reject the negative, so our hypotenuse, or the distance between A and B, is simply 12.04 meters. All right, I'm going to pause this for a second, or I'm going to erase this. All right, I am not going to go through number 73. If you want to go through that, we just finished learning this, so I already just made videos going through how to create a box plot, so you can watch those videos. Same thing with 74. I'm not going to go through this because we just made those videos, but what I will do is I will go through number 75 for you because it's a little bit tricky, I think. So what we have to do first before we can start answering these questions is we need to figure out how many we have here. This is directly on the line, so that's obviously 5. This one here, it's closer to this 15 line, but if you notice, this one is almost right exactly on the 20, so that means this is 1 away and this is 2 away. So this is 17. This one is 21. I'll write it on top of it. 21, 17, 5. This one is 42. This one is 19, and this one is 7. Now, because you are approximating these, if you're 1 off or you're slightly off on this question, I would never take off points for that. But if you said this is 44 instead of 42, I would take off points. But you're just approximating at these points because I don't think this is really drawn that well. And in order for us to find how many students took part in the competition, we need to add all these together. 5 plus 17 plus 21 plus 42 plus 19 plus 7. So 5 plus 17 plus 21 plus 42 plus 19 plus 7 is equal to 111. So there's approximately 111 students. What percentage of students hit the ball from 200 to 210? Well, here's 200 to 210. So 21 students hit the ball, and there's 111 total. So if we want to find a percentage, we would divide 21 by 111, and that'll be equal to 0.189, and then we times it by 100, so that means roughly, I'm going to change colors here, for B, it will be 18.9%. If you rounded it to 19%, that'd be fine because it doesn't really tell you how to round it. What percentage of students hit the ball more than 200? So we need to add up all of these. So when we add them all up, we would get 89, and 89 divided by 111 is equal to 0.801 or 0.802. And then as a percentage for C, it'll be 80.2% because we would times this by 100. All right. I just realized now I did not give you a proof for number 76. So for reviewing, I will just tell you guys in class, just do some of the proof problems that I gave you before. All right. So for number 77, solve all missing sides and angles. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to solve for the angles. It will tell you to round these to the nearest tenth, and your sides will be rounded to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to solve for angle F first. So the measure of angle F, or for this one, what we need to do first is we need to find all of our sides. This is our hypotenuse, this is our opposite, and this is our adjacent. So we use our song, SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. So then we have our opposite, we have our adjacent, so we need our tangent of angle F is equal to our opposite 4 over our adjacent 6. When we want to isolate that angle, we need to take the inverse. So we take the inverse of both sides, and that will undo our tangent. And then what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And when we do this, we would get that F, the measure of angle F, is equal to 33.7 degrees. All right, so once I know what the measure of angle F is, the measure of angle E is easy because I know that they all three have to add up to 180, and since this is already 90, I know that 33.7 plus the measure of angle E is equal to 90 degrees, so I can then subtract 33.7. And that will give me that the measurement of angle E is equal to 56.3 degrees. So now I know the measurement of angle E is equal to 56.3 degrees. So you do not have to waste your time in doing another trigonometry. You can just stop there. Right now, to solve for our missing side, I don't care how you do it. You can use trig, or when you have a right triangle and you have 2 of the 3 sides, you can also use Pythagorean Theorem, whichever one you find is easiest. So I know that 4 squared plus 6 squared has to be equal to my hypotenuse squared. 16 plus 36 is equal to my hypotenuse squared, so my hypotenuse squared is equal to 52. Square root of each side, h is equal to plus or minus. Take the square root of that 52, and that would then be equal to 7.21. We reject the negative, so that means our distance, and I said you're going to round this to the hundredth, so our distance of FE is equal to plus or minus, I'm sorry, not the minus, is equal to 7.21 feet. All right, move on to the next question. So for here, what you need to do first in order to find the rest of our trig ratios is you need to figure out what is our missing side. So if I have a triangle, it has to be a right triangle since we're dealing with trig, and I tell you that my cosine of a theta is equal to 4 over 3, that means my adjacent is 3, my hypotenuse is 4. So I need to solve for this missing side. So it will be 4 squared minus 3 squared, so then it will be 16 minus 9, so it will be 7, so it's a square root of 7. I just did that really fast. Please make sure you guys do this a little bit slower, but just for interest of time on the video, I have faith that you can solve for that. Right? Then we need to go ahead and solve. Sine of theta is equal to our opposite over our hypotenuse, so it will be square root of 7 over 4. Nice and easy. Our tangent of theta is equal to our opposite over adjacent, so square root of 7 over 3. Now we go into the other here. Secant of theta is equal to the reciprocal of cosine, so since our cosine of theta was 3 over 4, it's just quickly 4 over 3. And these are the two that get a little bit more tricky. Right? So our cosecant of theta, that's the reciprocal of our sine of theta, so it becomes 4 over the square root of 7, but we cannot leave a square root in our denominator, so we need to rationalize. So this is going to be equal to 4 root 7 over top of 7. You can use your calculator, and it will do it for you. Our cotangent, same thing of theta, we need to take the reciprocal, so it's 3 over the square root of 7. So we then rationalize, you can use your calculator, it's equal to 3 root 7 over top of 7. All right, for these, I'm just going to go through just a couple of these quickly. This one will be angle, side, angle. This one is side, side, side. This one is none or not enough information because they are not in the same position. This one will be angle, angle, side, and this is angle, side, angle. These angles we know are congruent, so it'll be angle, angle, side. We can put the side here, so it's angle, side, angle. We know that these are congruent, so it's angle, angle, side. We know these angles are congruent, so it's side, angle, side. These ones, side, angle, side. Here is side, side, side. This one is HL because we have our hypotenuse and our legs are congruent. This one is angle, side, angle. This one, because we know that that leg is shared, it's also HL. This, it's shared, so it's side, angle, side. Here we can say these angles. I'm just going to say side, angle, side. There's another one that you can solve for this. I'm not going to go through it right now. And this one is not enough information. All right, so that is it for this video. That is it for the review.